If you've been living anywhere other than under a rock for these past couple months, you've certainly noticed the current situation regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Unfortunately, this major health crisis has caused much distress, death, and abnormality around the globe. You're probably wondering when this nightmare will end, and when it does, what life will be like after COVID. My name is Nicole, and that's why today, myself and my group, which consists of Kim, Caroline, and Mahnoor, will run you through the question of whether or not COVID-19 is killing more than just people. Swimming, watching the Super Bowl, creating a bucket list, traveling, these are all things that we like to do for fun. The list goes on and on and on. Everyone has different interests, and this all touches into leisure activities. Whether you're 12 years old, 35 years old, 78 years old, no matter what age, we all have different things that make us happy. This is what makes us all personally unique. The leisure industry focuses on all things related to recreation, entertainment, sports, tourism, and other fun-related activities. This business segment is largely getting affected by the current COVID-19 pandemic. In light of the current situation in the world, consumer wants and needs are being shifted and are being really affected, and therefore their spending habits are changing. In fact, 100% of continents on the planet have reported confirmed cases of COVID-19. This goes to show that this pandemic and this crisis is not only affecting us, but is affecting the entire world as a whole, which is why as marketers, it's important to stay up to date on the trends and on what's going on to be able to analyze and assess them properly. It should also be noted that it is not specific to different geographic areas, therefore it's really essential to tackle the problem at hand. Myself and my group have come up with 3 research questions that we believe to be important and will help us gather substantial information on this topic. The first is COVID negatively impacting the leisure economy? Is it shrinking the airline industry? And is it shrinking the tourism industry? Our methods and data collection, meaning our research in action, first consisted of conducting secondary research. We then did primary research and came up with a lot of analysis and findings. And finally, this helped us get to consequently our conclusions and recommendations. My group member, Caroline, will now run you through our secondary research processes.
I will be discussing our findings from our secondary research that was conducted to answer our previously mentioned research questions. Starting with the first question, is COVID-19 shrinking the leisure industry? We found that in the UK, there was a grant funding of £25,000 for retail, hospitality, and leisure businesses with a certain property value. This is a good example of how much these businesses have taken a financial hit since they've needed government help from government funding. The hotel line, Marriott International Hotel Line, was planning on asking tens of thousands of their employees to go on leave due to the lack of people staying at their hotels due to all the travel restrictions for the pandemic. To answer the second question, is it shrinking the airline industry? We found that there was a 20 to 30% decline in international arrivals in 2020 relative to 2019, when they were actually, before the pandemic started, they were actually projecting for a 2 to 3% growth. This is a big impact on the airline industry. Another example is the Norwegian airline ended up canceling 85% of their flights and laid off 90% of their staff. Other airline asked their employees to take 2 months of unpaid leave if they were not laid off. Again, all of these are due to the travel bans and the travel restrictions that came with the pandemic, and it's all these businesses are taking a very big financial hit. To answer the third question of is it shrinking the global tourism industry, we found that there was over $200 billion lost in the global tourism industry due to all the travel restrictions. This is especially difficult for countries such as Greece and Portugal and Mexico, that their economy rely a lot on tourism. So they're taking a very big financial hit because of that. And also found that there was over 90% of the world's population are in countries that have travel restrictions and stay-at-home orders. Again, there's absolutely like no tourism happening because most, if not all, of the countries in the world have travel restrictions in place at the moment. So this industry is taking a very big financial hit.
Primary research is research that is collected and used by the researcher. In order to have research that was specific to our hypothesis, we created a survey using an online software called SurveyMonkey. Using that software, we asked a sample of 40 random participants from our team's extended social networks to answer 9 questions about their general demographics, their leisure economy background behaviors, and thoughts connecting COVID-19 to air travel and tourism. To get some more insight, we used SurveyMonkey and Microsoft Excel to analyze the data we received back and establish trends for the participants' behavior. To start off the anonymous surveys, we asked the participants their gender distribution and their age demographics, as well as how strong their belief was of the dangers of COVID-19. This was to establish how positive the correlation is between their answers and our hypothesis. We also asked them their level of engagement with the leisure economy under normal circumstances. We split those answers into 4 different categories: every year, every 6 months, every 2 to 3 years, and rarely. We asked this because not all consumers have the same impact on the economy. For example, if they rarely participate in air travel and tourism activities, their lack of engagement is not effectuated by the pandemic. Overall, we took many careful steps to avoid inflated and biased data, while also keeping in mind that our sample data included voluntary response and undercoverage bias.
The primary research findings presented by Mahnoor shows that there's room to predict that many travelers are fearful of contracting the virus and will therefore avoid unnecessary air travel for a long period of time. As a result, this may force airlines and tourist attractions in several different countries to decrease their prices in hopes of gaining customers. To summarize this presentation, while a lot of individuals are finding themselves with more free time during the pandemic, the choices on how to spend this free time is quite limited. Based on the findings my group members previously presented, we can see a significant decrease in people's attitude towards the leisure economy in the last 4 months compared to, say, this time last year. We, the researchers, are of the belief that the leisure economy is being negatively impacted by COVID-19 pandemic, specifically the tourism industry and the airline industry. We also believe that these industries will continue to suffer financial losses long after the pandemic ends due to ongoing travel restrictions and fear of contracting the virus. It is a bit difficult to make recommendations at this moment. However, we think that businesses that rely on consumer leisure spending could modify their methods of operation to encourage customers to resume participation in these sectors. We also see where safety protocols such as screening at airports or reducing the number of passengers on a flight could stimulate travel. With all of this being said, we fear that consumer participation in the leisure economy may not resume completely until a vaccine for the virus is found. Thank you for watching our presentation. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment section below. Thank you.